Do you boast about knowing great songs and bands from the times before the phrase "check your mail" became popular? Grab your tie-dye shirts and hop in the mystery machine as we take a groovy trip back to rediscover 13 underappreciated bands who made the 60s a cooler time. Let's give these forgotten heroes their long overdue standing ovation. First up, the Zombies. This British invasion quintet only scored a few radio hits stateside. Yet their vivid songwriting and lush vocal harmonies on albums like Odyssey and Oracle influenced countless future bands. The Zombies were one of the most creative and innovative pop bands of the 1960s. Fronted by the excellent songwriting talents of Rod Argent and powerful vocals of Colin Blunstone, the Zombies crafted baroque pop masterpieces that stood right alongside the Beatles in terms of melodic brilliance and harmonic sophistication. Unlike their British invasion peers that focused on American blues and R&B covers, the Zombies drew more inspiration from jazz and classical music. This gave their music an incredibly rich and ornate texture, especially on Odyssey and Oracle, which mixed harpsichords, mellotrons, and Argent's jazz-influenced organ. The Zombies were true masters of pop composition, and their music opened the doors for more ambitious pop conceptualists and progressive rockers in the following decade. Their musical legacy lives on through countless artists they've inspired. Racked way ahead of their time was Love. Fronted by African-American singer Arthur Lee, Love forged mind-bending folk rock atop blues foundations on their 1967 psychedelic touchstone, Forever Changes. Lee's songwriting genius combined poetic and insightful lyrics with sophisticated arrangements and musical complexities that went far beyond most of Love's peers. Supported by an excellent band featuring guitarists Johnny Eccles and Brian McLean, Love fearlessly fused rock grittiness with orchestral embellishments and psychedelic experimentalism in ways that seemed light years ahead at the time. Echoes of Love's kaleidoscopic chamber pop and acid-soaked orchestral rock reverberate through later visionaries like Neutral Milk Hotel, who probably never achieved the cult status they have without groundbreakers like Love paving the way. More than just a psychedelic band, Love helped bridge the gap between rock's harder blues tendencies and its more poetic, folk-oriented branch, where composers like Lee could let their musical visions fully flourish. Love inspired those who wished to chase their own inner muses. The Pretty Things deserve more applause for their forward-looking 1968 rock opera SF Sorrow, one of the first narrative concept albums in rock history. While psychedelia focused on expansive jamming and mystical themes, SF Sorrow ambitiously told a melancholy yet thoughtful storyline about war and innocence lost across its 13 tracks, tied together by repetition of musical and lyrical motifs. Pretty Things mastermind Phil May and guitarist Dick Taylor boldly grasped rock's potential beyond pop singles or vehicles for improvisation, crystallizing its coming of age into more mature artistic reflection. Without this relatively unheralded album, pioneering works like The Who's Tommy or Pink Floyd's The Wall may never have come to pass. The Pretty Things' achievement opened creative floodgates for more serious rock composition and conceptual storytelling just around the corner as the 60s closed and 70s rose. Let's mash down the gas pedal with Question Mark and the Mysterians. This band of musical aliens from Michigan took the pop world by storm in 1966 with their snarling #1 smash 96 Tears. With their gritty Vox Continental organ, swaggering rhythm section, and Question Mark's loud-mouthed punk attitude, Question Mark and the Mysterians encapsulated everything irreverent and rebellious about 60s garage rock. Though easy to dismiss as mere one-hit wonders capitalizing on a novelty sound, the Mysterians left an indelible impression on American punk rock. Their nasty, fuzzed-out keyboards and Question Mark's half-sung, half-shouted vocals captured teenage frustration and despair years before, bands like the Ramones or Sex Pistols. Without these accidental proto-punks making such a glorious mid-60s racket, the American underground scene might not have gotten revolutionized. The garage door flew open for fellow Michigan madmen like the Stooges and MC5 to barge through shortly after. No discussion of 60s rebel rock is complete without the Sir Douglas Quintet. This Texas-bred combo defined a Tex-Mex rock synthesis that later became known as cosmic American music. Fronted by Doug Sam, the Sir Douglas Quintet grafted Tex-Mex border sounds, country traditions, Cajun spices, bluesy Hammond organs, and swampy Gulf Coast. Soul to rock's flexible skeleton to craft a wholly unique style by 1966. With pivotal cuts like She's About a Mover and Mendocino sitting comfortably alongside psychedelic trends, Sam's outfit ably proved how rock could expand its sonic horizons beyond pure regionalism. The Sir Douglas Quintet didn't just mimic what the Brits were doing. They confidently fused myriad American root styles into their swirling stew. This established a template for the rich tapestry of Americana to later emerge. Roots architects from Graham Parsons to Los Lobos to Wilco learned invaluable lessons from these under-heralded innovators out of San Antonio. Across the Atlantic, French band Magma was already concocting their own inner space oddity by 1970 that later hatched an entire subgenre. Led by drummer Christian Vander, Magma created a fictional alien race called Cobayans with their own constructed language and mythology. Their mammoth prog suites chronicled Cobayan spiritual journeys backed by Vander's jackhammer percussion and ghostly choral passages. Though largely unfamiliar to wider audiences, Magma's cosmic brew of jazz fusion, prog, and classical ingenuity served among the key DNA for future prog metal and Zool bands. Few guitar gods loom larger in legend than Jimi Hendrix, but before his experience, he honed his six-string sorcery in the Isley Brothers. Though primarily known as an R&B vocal group, the Isleys recruited a young Hendrix from 1963 to 1965 to bolster their live act. Label disputes prevented any official Hendrix releases back then, but scattered bootlegs showcase a rapidly evolving talent tempering his pyrotechnic tendencies into tasteful accompaniment. Hendrix inherited the Isleys' love of melding pop, soul, and the blues into boundary-melting sounds that soon changed rock guitar forevermore. We'd also have no Hendrix without his clear antecedent, Frank Zappa. Early on, Zappa's Mothers of Invention seemed a freakish anomaly outside 1967's Summer of Love glow. But his avant-garde rock brew, drawing deeply from 20th century classical, jazz dissonance, and caustic social satire, proved tremendously influential. Decades ahead, Zappa's intricately composed hot rod music legitimized rock's potential for boundless experimentation beyond drugs or three chords. The Mothers' example granted permission for prog rock explorers like King Crimson, experimental wild men like Captain Beefheart, and every art school noisenick to date chasing their artistic muse. Let's spotlight a couple sadly overlooked R&B trailblazers too. Powerhouse soul shouter, Joe Tex dominated charts from the mid-60s onward, scoring over 24 R&B top 40 hits. Despite his immense success then, Joe Tex rarely earns credit for his innovations fusing gospel, country, funk, and more into his blistering southern soul. Ditto for soul dynamo Rufus Thomas, whose atomic dance moves and showmanship directly inspired the godfather of soul James Brown. Thomas broke ground melding blues, R&B, and Memphis soul starting in the early 60s that scarcely registers on modern radars. Thomas and Tex underscore how many seminal African-American architects of 60s soul and funk endure in obscurity today. No conversation about unsung mavericks is complete without the 1-2 punch of Alex Chilton and Big Star. Before fronting the box tops, teenage sensation Chilton skyrocketed to fame with smash The Letter in 1967. Despite hit records, Chilton grew frustrated with pop stardom's confined creative limits. He subsequently founded Big Star alongside Chris Bell, mining Anglo power pop by matching Beatles-gay melodies to gritty Memphis soul. Tragically overlooked in their era, Big Star's glowing Big Star Third and songs like In the Street belatedly earned massive underground ubiquity for power pop progenitors. Boston Tea Party earned their footnote as the first U.S. venue to book Led Zeppelin, but their trippy psychedelic stew deserves its own honorable mention. Unlike West Coast groups sporting flowers and peace signs, Boston Tea Party channeled darker energies towards social issues on their Soul album. Songs like Street Life chronicled urban alienation through garage rock aggression and Eastern-flavored psych. Boston Tea Party exemplified the revolutionary and experimental sides of psychedelia absent from the Aquarian hippie narrative, even if their challenging sound was too much for wide success then. We'll wind down with Gun. This obscure late 60s psych trio has largely faded into the mists of time, but their Soul album bravely tackled anti-war and environmental themes atop a whirlwind of blues, acid rock, jazz, classical, and Eastern motifs. Featuring brothers Adrian and Paul Gervitz, later of Hard Stuff fame, Gun practiced a freewheeling musical fusion avant la lettre. They moved effortlessly between thundering psychedelic jams to graceful sitar serenades and back, casually bridging the decade's hippie flowering and the ambitious prog flowering to follow. Even with scant recorded output, Gun's bold vision epitomized the era's creative fearlessness. The 13 bands we've spotlighted today all brought distinct flavors to the 1960s musical fondue pot. Their bold alchemy of styles, creative hunger, and willingness to challenge boundaries delivered timeless innovation that still reverberates today. Each showed rock's malleability beyond any one sound, and the potential for artistic statements as personal as a fingerprint when given room to bloom. What forgotten 60s trailblazers hold a special place in your heart? Which bands never got their full due? Share your insights below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more far-out deep dives. Until next time, keep on rockin' free spirits.